This is Steve Ray with Al's Nest Barbecue, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show with Greg Rempe. Can you believe it?
This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Broadcasting live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio. The barbecue capital of the world. Yeah, baby! I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening. If you see fit to join in tonight, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening, in case you can get the newsletter, coming up in about 12 minutes from now, maybe 13 minutes, as he is battling traffic and getting back to his headquarters in Florida, I think. He's probably down in the Miami area at this point. It's late. It's early in 2020. It is into the, well, geez, I mean, there you go. I mean, it's been so mild up here in the Northeast or Midwest, depending on how you look at Cleveland. Typically, we are well into the freezing temperatures, if not had a number of days of below zero temperatures, but we really haven't had any of that. The coldest it's been so far, I think, was 18 or 19 degrees on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. But otherwise, mid-30s with gusts up to 45 and 50. It promises to be near 40 tomorrow and Thursday, so I'll take it. That's kind of getting me all cuckoo as where we are weather-wise here in the country. But no doubt about it, Steven Raichlen is a snowbird and splits time between Martha's Vineyard when it's warm and Miami when it's cold up in the Northeast. So without any further talking up, we are going to be joined by the first time in 2020, the author of the Barbecue Bible, amongst many other live fire cooking books, TV show host, cooking class instructor, all the good stuff. And third Tuesday of the month, regular guest Steven Raichlen is in about 13, 14, 15 past the hour. And we'll be talking to Steven about what he thought the biggest food story was of 2020. We'll talk a little bit about meatless grilling this time around, because that is really going to be a thing. And we'll also talk about 10 commandments of grilling. Are you new to live fire? Are you not familiar with Steven Raichlen and Reichlen's rules and all of this good stuff? Well, we'll indoctrinate you tonight as we have him for the segment. Then we will move on to 35 past. That will bring another third Tuesday of the month regular guest. And it seems over the last handful of months since she's made the trek from the Atlantic Southeast portion, closer to the Keys, I think it was originally when she started coming on the show, but now around that Fort Myers area, but certainly in a patch of wilderness to the tune of 20 acres. And we've been living with her vicariously as she and her husband are picking off protein at a rapid rate. Perhaps more her husband than anything else. But if you follow Robin on social media, by the way, I am talking about Robin Lindars, the Grill Girl. And if you follow her on social media, you will see The lead topic that we'll be talking about this evening is wild boar. In fact, Howard Stern show producer Jason Kaplan, who happens to be a fan of this show, messaged me earlier and said, I see that you're talking about wild boar. I'm a huge fan of wild boar. I've had it a number of times. It's his favorite game meat. I'm a little less adventurous on the palate, of course. Jason's had elk and bear, if you can believe it. I wonder if he and Chad Ward have hooked up in any fashion over the years. And he said boar is widely his favorite. So that encourages me a little bit, where if I came across it, I might think about trying it, but probably not. So we'll talk about boar amongst other things. Then second hour, Daniel Vaughn, the editor for the barbecue side of things at Texas Monthly, will join me. Bunch of stuff to talk about with him. And then we will close it out with the CEO of the KCBS, Emily Detweiler. We'll recap some of the article, KCUR, if that's what it's called, that NPR affiliate. And then we'll get into a little bit of KCBS Banquet Recap 2019, talk about some teams of the year and international teams of the year, all that fun stuff. So there you have it, 216-220-0966. If you want to jump in, email Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, at BBQ Central Show, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Those are the social media platforms, so hit me up if you feel like it. And let me start here tonight. The email has been coming in a feverishly over the past week, and it all stems from Meathead's appearance. And I don't recall the last time a Meathead's appearance has garnered so much reaction. If you missed last week's show and you haven't gotten the podcast, here's what the hubbub's about.
A grilled pineapple margarita. Everybody who is into grilling knows. I'm just going to come out and say it.
All right.
Have everything you can put on the grill. Nothing in this world, animal, vegetable, mineral, is better than a pineapple. God almighty, I love grilled pineapple.
What?
Oh my
I have to look back at our 10 years of doing interviews together and hold everything in question that you said. I can't believe that the best thing coming off of a grill on any side of anything is pineapple.
Have you ever just grilled a slice of pineapple?
Of course I have. And never once
fantastic?
have I thought that this could be the best thing I've eaten off a grill. No way. Prime rib is better. Every steak is better. Chicken is better. Turkey is better. Pizza is better. Meathead, you are off your medicine. We might have to call an end to this whole goddamn thing now. Oh, my God. I'm a buzz. If you missed it, that's exactly what happened last week. Meathead said the best thing to come off a grill is grilled pineapple. No shortage of emails coming in. Here's just a sampling of the emails. Tim in Pennsylvania writes, Meathead, pineapple is the best thing off the grill. You must really be a meathead. Good one, Tim. Keep the comedy to yourself. Mike in Florida, Greg, did Meathead just say the best thing he's ever eaten off the grill is pineapple? How did you not hang up on him immediately? Are you going to ban him from the internet like you have done so many other people? This would probably be the most fitting ban so far. Mike, I have banned a number of people. I'll probably not be banning Meathead from the internet, although he is on probation, let's say. Chuck in Kansas wrote, please hang up on this guy, or as you would say, kook. Yeah, well, that was two. By the way, people in the chat room, if you were keeping track, or if you are, when I say chat room, I am talking about the YouTube chat room. As a matter of fact, let me stop here real quick. Does this show up? Does this connect? Widget will automatically connect when you start streaming from Facebook. All right. Do I see anything here? No. You know, this is what you get for listening to Steve Ray. That's not even the right sound effect. This is what you right there. All right, back to me. Randy in Missouri said, pineapple? I feel dirty. Don't feel dirty, Randy. Pineapple's delicious. It's not the best thing to come off the grill. Laura in Chicago, I love Meathead. He's a local guy. I own his book. I love grilled pineapple, but it's not the best thing to come off the grill, especially when there's beef to be had. Sorry, Meathead. So that was a sampling of the anti-pineapple take. By the way, I am anti-pineapple take, in case you were wondering. Now, to show both sides I do want to make sure that I read a different side of the email. This one is, and I quote, Meathead, we totally agree that pineapple is the best thing you can ever eat off the grill. Sincerely, people who lie for a living. I'm glad that people that lie for a living found time to write into the show. But that's what you were getting. That's what I was getting a lot of through the course of the last 5 and 6 days. Subject line, Meathead, and then I knew, boy, oh boy, is this going to go bad. And I would like to say, while it doesn't necessarily reflect, because I just took a random sample of emails, almost 90% of the emails that I did get, while they did reference Meathead as a kook to some form or fashion, did say the grilled pineapple was delicious. But to make such an assertion that Meathead is, or that pineapple is the best thing to come off the grill. And again, as you listen back to the clip, you can hear him set it up and then he pauses for like 3 or 4 seconds. And he decides at that point, you know what? I'm going to commit. I'm thinking this in my head that I'm about to say that pineapple is the best thing to come off the grill, but I better not. You know what? I'm going to double down. I'm going to say that. And he did say it. And then you have Mike in Florida calling Meathead a kook a week later. All right, Steven Raichlen will be coming up out of the break. I'll talk to you quickly about Southside Market and barbecue. Attention, anyone who loves sausage and barbecue. That's most of us, I guess. Established in 1882, Southside Market and Barbecue is a joint in Texas. What kind of joint? The oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Famous for the original beef sausage and their authentic Central Texas barbecue meats. All meats, including those prime briskets, are smoked low and slow for many hours over real Texas post oak wood. They ship nationwide via the online store. That's where you need to go, probably, southsidemarket.com. They ship fresh and smoked sausages nationwide. Shipping customers can choose to order now and ship later, include a custom gift note, or what I like to take advantage of, mail to multiple addresses, but you're not getting charged additional handling and shipping fees. All shipped items are vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. The meats are processed on their on-site USDA inspected facility. On-site meat market for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders are welcome as well. If you want to eat there, you can do it 2 different places. Elgin, Texas since 1882 and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Grocery distribution through Texas and many surrounding states. If you go to southsidemarket.com right now and through the duration, you can get a 10% off your total online order. Use code BBQ Central, lowercase, one word, BBQ Central. Again, lowercase, one word. You get 10% off your first order at southsidemarket.com. That goes for your second order and your third order and your 15th order. It's wonderful. All you have to do is go to southsidemarket.com. We'll take it from there. southsidemarket.com. Code BBQ Central. All right, we are back with Steven Raichlen coming up. Stick around. We'll be right back. I'm going to build a page here, so don't mind me.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. And visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. By the way, if you are into barbecue podcasts, and if you listen to this show, you must be. Dave also has a barbecue podcast that you might be interested in. It's called the Butcher's Barbecue Podcast, believe it or not. You might want to check it out, see what it's all about. Go to his website, butcherbbq.com, and see how you can tune in and subscribe to Dave's show. All right, it is the third Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means, right? Yeah, we're going to go race to the hotline and welcome in the regular third Tuesday of the month lead guest, Steven Raichlen. Hey, Steven.
Hey, how you doing?
I am fabulous, Steven. Appreciate you making time for the show, as always. And we have a bunch of stuff to get to here. First and foremost, Happy New Year. And did you do anything crazy and let the hair down and all that good stuff as you rang in 2020, or was it pretty low-key?
I had taken my family to Los Angeles the week before, and we flew back on New Year's Eve. So by the time we got home from the airport, it was just time enough to say hello to Mr. Pillow before the ball fell.
Anything that is worth reporting in L.A.?
Oh, my God. We went back to Key Spacca, which is the Italian steak and grill restaurant by Nancy Silverton. We actually taped a segment there on Project Fire 2 years ago when we were in Los Angeles. It's absolutely amazing. Any of your listeners, if they're in L.A., they must go to Key Spacca. That's spelled Chispacca. Chef Ryan works over an almond wood burning grill. They do a steak called a costata, which is 4 inches, not 4 fingers, 4 inches thick.
Wow.
The most amazing grill experience you'll have.
I would assume that's a dish for multiple people, or were you feeling especially hungry?
Yeah, there were 5 of us, and we dispatched it, but we dispatched a whole lot of other food, too.
All right, so you had mentioned something that I have not heard of yet, which is not surprising given the years we've been doing this segment. Almond wood fired grill. Talk to me about almond wood.
Well, almonds are a big industry in California, and as a result, there's a lot of almond wood. I'd say, much the way that oak is the wood of choice in Texas and hickory is the wood of choice in the South, almond is the predominant wood in Southern California. It's very clean burning wood, has a delicate smoke flavor, not sort of breast thumping, overpowering the way mesquite is. But it's a very, very light. Hello?
Hey, Steven, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, here we go. Not sure what happened there. Just dropped out. Beauty of the internet. So just to compare, the almond wood smoke would be perhaps more akin to, let's say, fruit wood as far as lightness on the palate versus something a little bit more robust like a hickory or a mesquite?
You know what? It reminds me of if you've ever tried to grill with lemon wood or orange wood. Both of those very light flavored.
Yeah, I have not done either. I mean, it's just not widely available here in Cleveland. Obviously, no surprise.
No. I've never seen it outside of California. By the way, there's one technique that they use at Key Spacca that I'd love to share with your listeners because it's a really great technique whenever you cook a steak. So they always have positioned by the grill a sheet pan with a wire rack on top of it, like a wire cake rack. Yep. And whenever a steak or a chop or a meat comes off the grill, it goes on that rack so it doesn't steam from underneath. You know how when you put a steak on a platter, it gets soggy on the bottom? Mm-hmm. Well, this keeps it crisp on both sides.
And is it away enough from the heat where it's not getting like additional cooking, something along these lines?
No, yeah, this is off to the side of the grill. It's not on the grill.
And is this a grill like something you would see from was it Ironworks Grill or Ben somebody or other?
It's not. No, it's not a Grillworks grill. It's actually a custom grill that was built by a fabricator in California. It's pretty straightforward, firebox on the bottom. The grate does not adjust. They control the heat by moving closer and further away from the fire and adjusting the embers.
Do you find that more and more you're seeing this kind of a grill show up in restaurants versus the traditional gas charbroiler or one of those drawer broilers? You're seeing more wood-fired. We have like two that I can name right off the top of my head in Cleveland, but I don't know if I could name more than two. But, geez, they put out such a unique flavor and product.
First of all, tell me the two in Cleveland so I can add that to my list.
All right. There's a place called Pickwick and Frolic on East 4th Street that's like the main drag, and that has been there for at least 10 years. They were more on the pioneering edge of this. Of course, I can't remember the second one. I will email it to you offline because this place just opened up maybe a month or two ago, and I saw a quick review by the Cleveland food scene writer, and he had mentioned that they're doing real live fire wood cooking at his grill. So I'll get you the name of that for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is a huge trend. And, I mean, I can think of a half a dozen places right off the bat in Miami. Los Angeles, anybody who has a grill, it's going to be a wood-burning grill. It's not even worth putting a grill in if it's not wood-burning. The reason is very simple, just flavor. I mean, when you cook over wood, first of all, it's a mercurial fire, so it requires more artistry. You get a hotter, drier heat than you would from gas, and you get the flavor. And it's not a heavy, smoky barbecue kind of flavor. It's a light wood flavor, but still flavor it is. You'll remember in my list of barbecue trend predictions for 2020, number 9 was grills in super high-end restaurants. And high-end restaurants, medium-end restaurants. I was just reading today that Wolfgang Puck, his restaurant Cuts, which he's rolling out all over the country, he's installing Grillworks grills, those wood burners with the flywheel to raise and lower the grate. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and these are grills where, as they're building the restaurant, this is something you're building around to a certain degree. You want the members or the customers that are eating in the dining room to at least see a portion of it, if not all of it, because it kind of enhances the eating experience overall.
Absolutely. And, remember, there's such a fascination with the sight of a flickering fire. I mean, it goes back way back to our caveman days. It actually seems to go back about 1.8 million years ago to a human ancestor called Homo erectus. We've talked about him. He was the guy that discovered you could cook meat with fire. That led to our giant brains, our social organization, our division of labor. Everything that makes us human originated with cooking meat over fire. So I think there's an ancestral memory in us. And whenever we stare at a burning fire, we remember that, but for that, we would still be apes.
Let me throw something out there. Everybody loves pizza. No doubt about it. It's one of my favorite foods. I think even the worst pizza is still a pretty good pizza. Do you think that the introduction and visibility of these high-dollar, either imported Italian ovens, either they're wood-burning or they're gas, but they still have the flame. You can see the flame. You go into a restaurant, you go into a brew pub that has one of these, you can see the flame. Does that add to the attraction with perhaps even subconsciously?
Absolutely. The sight of burning wood, it's mesmerizing. And not only that, but, if you have a pizza cooked properly in a wood-burning oven, it will taste differently than a pizza cooked in a gas-fired oven. And there are companies like Woodstone that actually make pizza ovens, one model wood-burning, one model gas-burning. And even from the same company, they taste different. Now, the trick is, and this is only a really experienced pizzalaia will do this, but after your pizza, when it's almost done, you raise it up on the peel, and you raise it just above where your mound of burning logs are. And then you kind of rotate it around, and you fire singe the edge. And by getting it off the floor of the pizza oven, that's where the smoke is. The smoke rises, so that's where that smoky flavor comes from.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'm okay with it. As long as it comes with Canadian bacon, why not?
Yeah, why not? All right, Steven Raichlen joining us here. Yep.
By the way, I have not ordered that since I was in college, which was a long time ago, but we'll take it.
All right. Steven Raichlen joining me here on the show, barbecuebible.com, his website. Steven, let's quickly take a look back at 2019. And just from an overall food perspective, it doesn't have to be live fire related per se, but what do you think the biggest food story of 2019, in your opinion?
Well, I'm going to cite two, and one of them is brisket, and that's no surprise since I published the Brisket Chronicles in May and did a full-page, front-page New York Times food section story on brisket in June. So I think that was a very big story. The other was actually more an economics and finance story than a food story, but it certainly concerned the food. And that was when Beyond Burger went public and quintupled in one day of trading. And that sort of announced that the meatless burger is here. It's big. It's only going to get bigger. It's only going to pave the way for other meatless foods. Although, mind you, I think that the meatless burger will remain the mother lode of that trend. And I think that was a really important story.
Let's go ahead and dovetail into one of those subtopics that we were going to be talking about, which was meatless grilling. So I don't know if you want to start with a particular burger in mind, or if you just want to talk about meatless grilling in general.
Well, I think, as America becomes more health conscious, first of all, there's kind of a little schizophrenia going on, because on the one hand, barbecue festivals, brisket, meat fest, cochon, we certainly, we have not given up meat, but I would argue that we're probably eating better meat and more authentic barbecue than we used to. But on the other hand, grilling vegetables, plant foods. I mean, I was in Kansas City doing a book signing at Smoke and Fire, which is, one of the best barbecue and grilling supply places in the country. Yep. And I announced that my next book was going to be a book primarily about grilling vegetables and, soy and dairy products with a little meat in it, but not much. And in past years, I would have been hooted. I would have been booed off the stage. But, people were very receptive to it. So I think that, we want to eat meat. We want to eat better meat. We're probably eating less meat, but it's better. And we definitely want to get our game up with grilled vegetables.
Do we want to talk about, and perhaps this would even be a better subject to talk about with your dietitian daughter there, when we talk about meatless or plant-based meat, with a health-conscious mind, we do want to make sure that we're pointing out that that's not necessarily a better or healthier choice to make. You're just making the choice to not eat meat on a Tuesday or a Monday or whatever.
Well, I think it's been demonstrated by countless scientific studies that if you eliminate meat from your diet one day a week, you are going to be healthier. You're probably going to live longer than if you eat meat 7 days a week. I don't know where the cutoff point is. I mean, is it 2 days a week? Is it 3 days a week? Like Julia Child used to say all the time, moderation in all things. But I know when I grew up, and especially when my dad grew up, you ate meat 7 days a week. And vegetables were, they came out of a can. They were not a big deal. One of the biggest trends that I observed this year in dining around the country when I was on book tour is how incredibly serious and talented and creative chefs are getting with vegetable menus. Mm-hmm. And you go to any Michelin 3-star restaurant, which is the highest, most fantastic, expensive, elaborate restaurant you can find, and invariably there will be a vegetable tasting menu at that restaurant.
Steven Raichlen joining me here on the show. We're talking about meatless grilling this coming or in 2020 and really taking to a fevered pitch. Do you see any other forms of meatless coming into at least our sector aside from the burgers? Are we going to see a meatless brisket or meatless ribs or something along these lines?
Well, people are already working on meatless steak. I think they're working on meatless wings. I'm a little more dubious about those. I will keep an open mind to taste them because I try and keep an open mind with everything. But think about a burger. It's ground meat. Everything is chopped up. So when you try and replicate that with an Impossible Burger or a Beyond Burger, already it's the same texture. You know what I mean? It's already stuff that's chopped up.
Yep.
Whereas with a steak, you've got muscle fibers, you've got meat fibers. You know, it has a very distinctive look and texture and feel, the way you chew it. And a steak is not uniform. Maybe like a filet mignon is, but you know, if you eat a New York steak or a New York strip or a ribeye or sirloin, parts of it will be tougher, parts of it will be more tender, parts of it will have a little more chew, parts will have a little less chew, parts of it will be fattier. And that variation, I think, is going to be very hard to replicate in a synthetic steak. However, you know, like I say, let me try it, and I'll pronounce it. You know, I'll give you my opinion when I see it.
All right, Steven, we're talking with Steven Raichlen here on the show. BBQBible.com is his website. Steven, let's touch a little bit on a few other 2020 predictions. We hit a few as we were making our way into 2020 last month. There were a number of other ones. So we had talked about vegan charcuterie, and we had talking about eat less meat, but maybe eating better meat. You've really been more on eating better meat instead of just eating a copious amount of meat for any number of years. I remember that being a point, you know, maybe even 5 or 6 years ago. Wagyu goes mainstream. That was point number 7 that you were making for a 2020 trend. Why do you think that Wagyu is going to really find its way up the ladder here in 2020?
Well, first of all, Wagyu has a very good spokesperson, and that spokesperson is the A5 Wagyu beef from Japan. That's this extraordinarily well-marbled beef that looks more like white lace laid over a red tablecloth than it does like the red meat we're associated with. One example would be Kobe beef. Another example would be snow beef. And thanks to companies like Crowd Cow and super high-end steak restaurants like Miku in San Francisco, this extraordinary Wagyu beef is, you know, people know about it. They see it. They want to experience it, even if they have to spend $50 an ounce, mind you, an ounce, to sample it. And it doesn't hurt that the stock market is, you know, roar. Unemployment is at a record low, and in general, the American economy is doing pretty well. But that is, in a sense, the high tide that lifts all boats. Now, I often order Wagyu, American Wagyu. I try and order from small farms. And this is a steak that looks pretty much like a steak. It's got a slightly richer mouthfeel because of the marbling. It's a very tender meat. But, you know, it's not that like pornographic Japanese super fatty meat. But it's very flavorful. Plus, it's got a great name. I remember maybe 20 years ago when Pinot Grigio from Italy became all the rage. Do you remember that? Well, you're probably too young.
Well, I remember when Pinot became all the rage because of that Sideways movie, and everybody had to have it.
Right. Well, anyway, Pinot Grigio sort of replaced Préfusé from France as the sort of slightly unpronounceable, but hey, I get it. We're on the inside. We know how to pronounce it. Wine. And I remember my relatives who don't normally drink, ordering it at restaurants. And I'm thinking, man, this wine has really had successful marketing. Well, Wagyu, for many years it was certified Black Angus, and believe me, certified Black Angus is great. But now you've got a new kid on the block with a name that's slightly exotic, associated with Japan, but that everybody does know how to pronounce now and will recognize in a menu. So, I think it's got the right messaging. It's a steak that really delivers in terms of flavor. So it's got everything going for it.
Number 3 on your list, and this is what we'll call it a close here this evening, is the pellet grill proliferation of 2020. I was of a very similar mindset in my last embedded correspondent segment as the year turned, but I'm interested to get your take on why you think pellet grills, although very commonplace to us, and they have been for years, will find its real footing here in 2020.
Well, I think it's ease and convenience. I sometimes call pellet grills the crock pots of barbecue. You set them, you forget them. if you know what you're doing and you're working at a low heat, you get a credible, you get a smoke ring, you get a pronounced smoke flavor, but it spares you having to refuel your charcoal in a Smoky Mountain or to refuel your logs in an offset barrel smoker. So I think that's why they're successful. What was really interesting to me is that Weber decided to come out with a pellet grill, and I thought in a way that's the pellet grill moment defined right there. It made me a little sad too, because I think of Weber as the sort of such an iconic charcoal burning grill, and like, what are they doing getting in the pellet grill? But as that old whatever that movie was, follow the money. So I think that's where I think that's one reason everybody's getting into pellet grills.
So do you poo-poo a little bit on pellet grills, Steven? I'm getting a little bit of downness from you on those.
No, I don't poo-poo at all. And I think anything that gets people outside and grilling is a win-win. We have pellet grills at BBQ University. We have them on the show. We've done some amazing pork shoulders with them. We've done some amazing duck with them. So I'm not poo-pooing them at all. If you hear any poo-poo at all, it's it's not even poo-poo. It's just sort of surprise a little bit that Webb got into that game.
Steven Raichlen can be found right here on this show, the third Tuesday of the month. In the meantime, you can find him posting new things on his blog very frequently. BBQBible.com is that website. Of course, Steven, always appreciate the time, and we'll look for you again in February.
Hey, me too. Take care.
All right, you got it. There he is, Steven Raichlen, right there. I thought I caught a little poo-poo from Steven. I don't know. Did anybody else catch a little poo-poo? Maybe, again, as he says, he's just disappointed in the fact that... I mean, you can't be surprised that Weber got into it. I'm surprised that it has taken this long, but depending on who you're talking, like Kevin Coleman said, we just wanted to wait around, or Weber wanted to wait around until they found all the things that people were poo-pooing themselves and fix them. So you have a whole new concept, but it's a process that people are down with. I caught a little poo-poo, I think Steven believes that the American public, by and large, isn't going to be that lazy, and then they end up being that lazy. That pellet grills are taking off, and fire management and knowing how to build and maintain and keep a fire are perhaps falling by the wayside. I don't want to think that, but I'm not going to live with my head in the ashes either. I almost said sand, but I pulled out a barbecue reference. Speaking of pellet cookers, Green Mountain Grills is here in 2020. Damn right. They have a choice line. They have a prime line. They're some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. 3 different sizes to choose from. Jim Bowie, Daniel Boone, more of the patio models. And then you have the Davy Crockett, which you can take with you on any trip. We love tailgating. Maybe your kids play collegiate sports and you have the opportunity to cook in a parking lot outside of the traditional football tailgating. Davy Crockett's the way you want to go. The bigger ones do house that pizza oven insert that I tell you about each and every week. Got to get that. Go to greenmountaingrills.com and check out all of the products that they have. Great accessories too. Sauces, rubs, pellets. Much to love over there. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. The Grill Girl coming up next. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Thanks again to Steven Raichlen for joining me. This portion of the show brought to you by cookinpellets.com. We love cooking pellets, especially if you have a charcoal-driven cooker, because you can load those cooking pellets right up in your charcoal-driven or in your pellet-driven cooker, and away you go. The website, cookinpellets.com. You can also buy them on Amazon from time to time if you wish. Bunch of different flavors, and we love Chris Becker here on this show. He's the pellet god and know-it-all. CookerPellets.com. All right, joining me now is the second third Tuesday of the month regular guest, creator of GrillGirl.com, and friend o' mine. It is Robin Lindars. Hey, Robin.
Hey, how's it going?
Fabulous. Happy New Year to you.
I know. Happy 2020. Can you believe we're here already?
I can't believe it. You know, John Solberg pulled out a timeline clip, and I think the first time you showed up on this show was John. He's in the chat room. Double check me here on my information. Was it 2010, John? I think you've been coming on the show for 10 years solid now.
Wow. I've been
believe
vlogging for 10 years.
Yeah.
I think more, actually.
Yeah.
And can you believe we're still doing it? We're still here. We're still kicking, Greg.
I know. We're alive. We're well. One of us is better looking than the other. I mean, we're doing very good, no doubt about it. So, and look, is it fair to say, Robin, that while our passion for live fire perhaps has never been greater, do you think overall that the people we are reaching are more passionate now about everything live fire than they were in 2010?
Oh, absolutely. It's just grown by leaps and bounds.
Okay, here's the fact check that John Solberg just did for me. First ever guest on video was Robin Lindars, believe it or not. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. When we did the foray into video, which is a decision I regret every single day. But nevertheless, you were the very first one on video. How about that?
Oh my goodness. I have to go back and look at that and see what I was wearing and where I was. And that was like 3 houses ago, maybe.
No doubt. I don't even know if that particular archive is even available because that was probably on Outdoor Cooking Channel, and it's hard to find stuff that was on Outdoor Cooking Channel that also was up on YouTube. I tried to do it for something completely. Anyway, we're way off topic all of a sudden.
I did too. I had a bunch of videos on the Outdoor Cooking Channel back in the day.
Robin, what's in your closet?
What's in my closet?
Just clothes and stuff?
Those are my winter clothes. That's my backup closet.
For those of us that don't have your Florida lifestyle, what's a piece of winter clothing?
You know, you might have sometimes occasionally pull a jacket out, like maybe twice a year.
Is that like a members only thickness kind of jacket, or is it like a jacket?
Well, we are getting a cold spell to the point where, like, I saw an article that I texted you because I made a joke about this the other day because it actually does happen, is that like the rare occurrence when you get like a freeze in South Florida, you will see iguanas and lizards falling out of the trees because, you know, they're cold-blooded. And I remember, I'm in Southwest Florida, so it's actually colder here. We have iguanas too, of course, but South Florida, when I lived there, when we had our last freeze, you really would see iguanas falling out of the trees.
Wow. And some of them get pretty big, and if you're not expecting it, you get a little knock on the head.
Yeah. I actually had a run-in with the iguana the other day, and I thought of you. It's so funny. Like, I immediately thought, oh, Greg.
Did you draw your .22 air rifle and put it to its miserable end?
Believe it or not, I didn't, because I was at a hotel in South Beach, and it literally crept up from behind a trash can and ran across the parking lot.
Yikes.
So,
pests.
Definitely not in wilderness of any type.
All right, speaking of wilderness, you are amongst 20 acres of that kind of stuff on the, let's call it Chattahoochee River or whatever it's called. And what is it called?
Well, so we're renting on the river, but our property is not on the river, but we're about 15 minutes away, but we do now have a pond on the property because we acquired a wetland. So now we have 30 acres.
Wow. Look at you guys.
Well, it's just like, honestly, it's like, to someone wanting to buy that land, it would have been highly undesirable because you'd have to do what's basically called wetland mitigation, which means if you destroy like a natural habitat like that, you have to go make it somewhere else. So we negotiated a pretty sweet deal on it. But for us, it's valuable because, you know, it's a nice opportunity to see wildlife and have a little like pretty area to look out on.
Now, while you were in South Beach, and if my timeline is off, please correct me, Scott Lindars was out hunting and taking care of wild boar that may or may not have been roaming on the 20 or 30 acres that you have, and put down 3 of these bastards, right?
Yes. So
Wow,
I had a girls' night with my girlfriend down in Miami. I went to see New Order, if you remember them, like that 80s band. And the next day was like hang out on South Beach, like Robin time. And I get this text from him and he's like, I took down 3 hogs, and I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, like now our house, it's gonna be like a pork processing plant, So I was like, I'm gonna try to get home really late tonight to hopefully, make sure that like I don't end up having to be part of that equation. So honestly, that's how I was thinking. Isn't that sad? But I was just like, it's like a porkathlon in the kitchen of like butchering hogs, really, and all of that stuff, which I didn't really want to have to do a ton of that part.
Well, as we watch you on social media from time to time, you'll run a story where you open up your refrigerator and you'll see things that typically you would find in a tree or flying in the air.
Yes.
Taking a refrigerated nap and waiting for whatever the next meal is going to be. So I would imagine a concern of yours was going to be, how many sections of wild boar are going to be tossed into the refrigerator. So, I mean, is Scott adept at, I don't even know the right verbiage to use here, but like taking the fur off of these things and stripping their guts out and processing? Maybe that's the right word. Does he process, or does he just take the dead carcasses somewhere to get them taken care of?
No, he actually processes them, and it's really crazy because he's really good at it. I don't know where he learned this stuff, but he went to school in Montana back in the day, and he used to hunt like elk and stuff. And not that they're like the same animals, but this totally dates us. But he used to watch a bunch. He had like a video on how to like butcher meat or those kind of animals he was hunting for, and so he would do it himself because that's how he rolls. And I guess it's just like kind of gone into other animals as well. So he does that.
Wow.
And I helped butterfly the whole hog that we did, just because I watched some YouTube videos because I'd never done that. And we I kind of felt bad because he tells the story like, there is a mama with babies around. He did not kill the babies, but that's why we're also trying to eradicate the boar on the property.
Why not?
So
take them all down.
like,
who cares? They're terrorists.
So part of me is like, but they also like they're wild boar, and they're kind of, I've seen what they eat each other,
Yes, they're terrible human beings. Get rid of them.
I know. So, but the smaller ones actually taste really good. Like you don't want to eat anything, I think, over like 100 pounds, but believe it or not, I mean, the meat was really delicious.
Yeah. So let's not just gloss over this. This is very important. One of the guys from the Howard Stern show is a huge wild boar eating fan. And I know he'll be very interested in this. So after it's processed, let's talk about your side of the game. Preparation, seasonings, what you're trying to do to make sure there's no gaminess, or how do you even test that before you cook it? And then how do you cook it, and how do we serve it?
Yeah. So I'd say like, for most situations, the ideal preparation would be to do the best type of cook or preparation according to the piece, like the cut of meat. So we did out of the 3, we kept one whole, and it was a small one. It was like a 35-pound boar, and we butterflied that one. But the other ones, we pieced out, or Scott pieced out, and we gave a bunch to our neighbors. But for this one, so we butterflied it. So you kind of split down the spine, and then it's not spatchcocking, but you want to kind of get it to lay flat.
Yeah, butterflying a little bit, right?
Yeah. And so I actually consulted with all who I would consider hog experts in my circle. I called Brooke Lewis from the shed, and I call her, and then she and Brad happened to be together, and they put me on speakerphone and gave me some tips on what to do. And he was like, okay, it's going to take you an hour and a half per 10 pounds. And then I texted Malcolm Reed and I texted Chris Lilly, and they all gave me some tips. So if I ever write this recipe down, it has been crowdsourced from some pretty smart people in the world of barbecue. So it was already small enough that these smaller ones don't really taste gamey. You're blessed in that sense. And I would say how it tastes is like, think about the difference of like a white meat to a dark meat on a chicken. That's how I think of like factory pork is more like the white meat, and what we're getting is more like, it's just like darker. It's got a richer taste to it. And so what I did with this whole hog, believe it or not, I fit a 35-pound boar on my Daniel Boone Mountain Grill. And
on the Daniel Boone.
I did. Like
wow.
the legs were like,
yeah, right.
on the corners, they were kind of squished in there, but I fit it in. And so I made a brine out of maple syrup and like Himalayan sea salt and water, and injected it with that. And then I rubbed it with, I don't know if you've heard of my friend Neil. He's from Sarasota down here in Florida, but he has these rubs called Damn. It's spelled Daym. So we're like, damn. Yeah. It's called Neil Syrup. Syrup means delicious in not Filipino, Tagalog, I guess. No, wait, is that what you call it? Yeah, Filipino. And I had a brain fart there for a second. Anyway, so that's what it means. That's the translation. I'm sure I'm screwing this up, but his rubs are really good. So I rubbed it in that, and also some Veterans Q. And then I found some rendered bacon fat in my refrigerator. You never know what's going to come in handy, right?
Yeah, right.
And I rubbed it in more of that, and then I stuffed bacon fat like into like the crevices, like under the skin, so that it would moisturize, because your wild boar does not have hardly any fat to it. And then I found more bacon and stuffed more bacon into the pork, basically everywhere. So I moisturized the pork with more pork, believe it or not, with pork fat. And it took about I don't know. By the end of the day, it was a long night. I mean, not long night in that it took a long time, but just I got started late. And, by the time, when you eat and you've been smoking something and you've been a couple of drinks, and then by the time you eat dinner at like 9:00 at night,
Oh dear.
But it was delicious, So, okay. So anyway, so what we did, inject it, smoked it until it hit internal temperature of 145, then wrapped it and smoked it until it hit internal temperature of 203, and then put it in a cooler, wrapped in foil still to let it, do its thing, and then eventually pulled it.
So you, maybe I'm missing major parts here, but did you wrap the whole thing and put it in the cooler?
Yep.
You have a cooler that can fit a 35-pound boar?
I have a really shitty old like Vlasic pickles cooler. That was when Scott was like, we should really invest in a bigger Yeti.
That's gotta have, but that would have to be the biggest Yeti. I mean, it could cost $2,000, right? I mean, am I missing out on how big a 35-pound hog is? Is it only like 2 feet?
Yeah, but we like wrapped it together and smushed it in there.
Oh, okay. You didn't like lay it splayed open.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I don't have. I think they do make Yetis that big, but I don't own one that big.
All right.
It wouldn't even fit in the back of my Jeep anyway. But
so you hold it, and then is it just like a straight up pull everything, or do you part it out to try and do the whole thing?
Pulled everything. Yeah. And so before we actually threw it on the smoker, I actually pulled the tenderloins out, because the tenderloins on a 35-pound pig like that are teeny tiny, so they don't overcook. But what Brooke had recommended to me, had it been a larger pig, was to make sure you cover that part, especially with lots of fat. But we just sauteed those up on the side. But yeah, believe it or not, it was delicious. And I made to go with it to keep it like keto style. And a chaffle is like a cheese waffle you make in a waffle iron, and slaw, and a keto like mustard, or just a sugar-free mustard, like South Carolina style barbecue sauce. And then tonight we actually had it as tacos as well. Oh. And I think I liked it as tacos the best way.
Yeah, I love pork tacos in any form, or carnitas in any form or fashion.
Exactly. If I could probably repurpose it a couple times and make some empanadas out of it if I was really, wanted to go there. But yeah, it's I've always said it's all about trying new things. And so this was probably one of the new things I've tried this year. So very excited.
I mean, if Scott kills 2 of these a month, you guys would be set to eat at least half the month on those particular boars, right? Keeping within that size, you could get 10, 15 meals out of that probably, right?
We could. I don't know if I could go there, Greg. I think that's just a little bit too much work for me.
I get that, but I'm just talking about like if this was the old-timey days and he had a bunch of brass to throw down range, he could tag a couple of those boars. You'd be pretty popular people in the neighborhood.
We would not really have to buy meat.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't, because it's duck season as well, duck and snipe season. So I've been eating a lot of duck and a lot of snipe.
Well, good for you. I don't know if I have any interest in eating snipe. I've eaten duck, but not the duck that fly in the sky. They're farm-raised duck, and they're delicious.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you quickly. We have to transition out of the wild boar, but it's endlessly fascinating. We have a couple minutes left, and I don't want this to go away because we need setup so we can get recap after the fact. A year ago, Robin-ish, you were on your way to the shed to do an SEA event, and we had all the lead up. Are you doing, is there a shed event again this year? And if so, are you doing it?
Yes. So the shed is this weekend.
This weekend. Here we go. Yes. SCA, or is there a Bloody Mary contest too?
I think there is. I'm actually not going to do it this year. I know I just haven't practiced enough, and I was happy with my third last year.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, my goal is to get a ton of content and footage and really highlight how just how everyone's doing, the different teams, a lot of the females out there. So I am competing with Daddy-O and my dad. So Brad and Brooke's dad, Craig Orson, Daddy-O. And so our team, I think he signed us up as buddies too, or something like that. But you know, Craig, aka Daddy-O, has taken Robert Irwin's class. I think he spent a lot of time with Johnny Joseph as well.
Yeah, a lot of time.
So I feel like we have a really good shot. And yeah, and you know, Steve Jaminas from Kids Q Nation is going to be there, which is the kids cook-off, which is so cool. So I really want to just highlight that because there's so many young kids getting into cooking, and I think that's so awesome. And so I just really want to shed light on all the fun stuff that's going on there. So think of me, you know, for this weekend as the Katie Couric of Q, if you will, and getting footage for my blog. And then think of me as your embedded correspondent, Greg, because
yes. I want you to get interviews with Brooke and Brad and Mama Shed and also any other, like if Poncho and Lefty are going to be down there, I want you to interview them and give me all sorts of great sound. And of course, the insider secrets. That's the most important.
Well, you know, I'm staying at Mama Shed and Papa Shed's house because my dad, my parents vacation with them, and we've just gotten close over the years. They've been going on vacations together.
Look at you guys.
Well, they're just like the funnest people ever. I know funnest is not a word really.
Yeah. Well, Mama Shed, I think, is a little down on me because I kind of took a shit all over the MBBQA a couple years ago. But it was a deserved shit. I was just it was an honest shit, and she didn't want to hear it. And so she, you know, harbored a little bit. Instead of just calling me out on it when I had her on the interview, like she should have. She just harbored a little bit, but maybe we're over it by now. I don't know.
I'm sure, you know, time heals all wounds or whatever it is.
It's her wounds, though. I had no wounds from it. They were her wounds. It's a one-sided wound, I think.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, and you know, so if you look, I've been highlighting other female grillers on my blog, or it's not really a blog anymore. It's like a website, right? Like blogging sounds very 2010, but I interviewed Jackie Milligan, and I've been getting a ton of great response to that, like on my Facebook page, which prompted me, and also Stover gave me the great idea to do it.
Who?
Stover, who's my managing editor. You don't know Stover, do you?
No.
What does he come onto your show as? Is like the barbecue wizard or something?
I have no idea who you're talking about. No idea.
So anyway, I started a Facebook group called Girls Who Grill, and lots of cool chicks have been joining and sharing their cooks, and just like it's really cool to see the groundswell there. And I feel like I've been neglecting Facebook for a while, and so it really is a great place to still build community. So but so for y'all gals out there listening, come join the party, Girls Who Grill on Facebook. But yeah, good stuff. And stay tuned. I'm developing a bunch of recipes for Super Bowl. I've done a video for Green Mountain Grills that I'll be hopefully getting out here soon, right before Super Bowl. So yeah.
All right. This weekend coming up, Robin Lindars and her dad, Eddie Medlin, and Daddy-O taking on the rest of the steak competitive stage down there in Orange Beef or wherever the hell the shed is. And they're going to take it home. So come February when we recap, we're going to be talking about a first place steak win. And of course, that gets you to Fort Worth for the World Championship later in the year. So we'll see how it happens.
It should be a lot of fun. So you guys watch. There will be a lot of behind-the-scenes footage, and I will definitely make sure to get that footage of the Bloody Marys because that was like.
I do want to see that so I can make fun of all of those ridiculous things.
It was fun to talk about, right? Yeah. We had a blast. Those photos, it was over the top, but fun.
No doubt. So, all right, Robin. Well, good luck, and we'll see what happens this coming weekend, and we'll get the recap in February.
Awesome. Happy 2020, everyone.
All right, take care. There she is. Robin Lindar's right there, grillgirl.com. That's the wrong transition there. Those are some free T-shirts. Quad X if you need them. Quad X. That's barbecue large. It might even be barbecue extra large, right? Well, all right. So I'm over. We're top of the hour right now. I always think I'm going to have more time for Robin than I actually have. I'm reading a comment in the instant chat. I have no idea what it means. That's right. All right, we will wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Give me a beat. Hello, everybody. This is Gary Bay, Nerd Chuck, host of Wine Library TV, a.k.a. WLTV, the #1 wine show on the internet. And this is BBQ Central.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the BBQ Central Show.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant, you're in luck because Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Thanks again to Robin from grillgirl.com for joining me, going all in on the whole hog. And that's a wild boar whole hog. Ironically, or as it just so happens, there was some other huge wild boar post on Instagram. And now that was a huge boar. But I didn't get the particulars. I was too busy gawking at this dead boar. Huge. Couple 100 pounds, maybe more. Everybody else see that on Instagram? The guy's hosing it down as the other guy's talking about how they raise them out on this farm and they eat some kind of nut out in the woods. Look out. All right, let's move to the second hour, shall we? You stick around, and we'll be right back. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show right here on the BBQ Central Network.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to. Hit me.
Fine. How's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono. It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wiener.
Oh, listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. You found the BBQ Central Show. If you've missed the first hour, fear not. You have a whole nother hour to live it up as we talk about live fire stuff, and you can get that podcast tomorrow because while it is a live show from 9 to 11 every Tuesday, I'm also recording it and sending it up to the podcast feed so you can listen at your leisure. First hour will be released in about an hour and 25 minutes. That's a lot. 2 hours. Let's call it 2 hours. When the feed actually re-energizes and pushes out through the internets, the World Wide Web, that will be hour number 1. So let's call it Wednesday. And then hour number 2, Thursday. Still to come on this show tonight, Daniel Vaughn of Texas Monthly, the country's first full-time barbecue editor, will join us. And then to close out the show tonight, Emily Detweiler, CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society. Don't forget, you can follow me socially on a bunch of different platforms at BBQ Central Show on things such as Instagram, the Twitter, and TikTok. If you really like doing funny, jazzy videos, check me out on TikTok. /BBQ Central Show on the Facebooks, which is where you will also find a live feed of this show. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday, we will be releasing episode 108. Here we go. As we mosey you back not too far back in the day, December 19th, 2017. And let me ask you this question. Have you ever wondered to yourself, who does the voicing for the show's bumpers and promos? It's not me. I'm not the guy that says, "They get monthly visitors from a diner of barbecue and a man named Meathead." I mean, I almost sound like it, but that's not me. No. Have you ever wondered who it is? That man's name is David Lee, the Lee Monster, baby. Yeah. And on December 19th, 2017, I was finally able to land him to do the interview I had been wanting to do for quite some time. And here's the question you want to ask. Does that guy sound like that in real life, or is it produced through effects and other such whatnot? The interview we did was intriguing, insightful, and let me tell you this. Through the interview, and it was done with just regular old microphones. He wasn't connected ISDN through his voiceover studio or anything like that. So the voice that you hear is indeed the voice that you hear when we're talking on this show when he's doing the intros back. So I can only wonder what it's like to go through life and have that voice. And when we're talking, when he's regaling stories about what it was like to be a DJ back in the 70s, he had that voice. And if you've never seen him, perhaps when you hear him talk as we lead into segments here on this show, you think of a guy that might be a little bit more on the portly side, big beard, long hair, Wolfman Jack kind of thing, if you know who that is. It is the antithesis of that in your mind. It's more like me. Wiry, short hair, movie star, good looks. He just happens to have pipes that very, very few of us have. So if you've always wanted to get a little insight to the really big voice guy of the Barbecue Central show, and by the way, people ask me all the time, who does the voice? Sounds like the guy on Westwood One and the guy that does the promos for the National Motocross Circuit and professional bull riding. Yeah, well, guess what? It's the same guy. How do you get him to do that? You ever heard of this thing called Google? Works good. Type in, who does the voice for Westwood One? Guess what? David Lee's website comes up. Then you go to the website. Then you click the contact button. Then you write him an email that sounds like this. Hey, I have a stupid podcast, live show podcast. I have a stupid internet show that's live that then goes to podcast. Would you be interested, or will you read these things that I write for you? If so, give me a rate. And then he replies back in 20 minutes and says, is it just internet or are you cleared anywhere else terrestrially? And I say, well, of course I'm not cleared anywhere terrestrially. I'm internet-based. I'm global. And he said, okay, for these 5 intros, whatever they were originally, if you can see your way clear, because now let me preface this because I know a lot of you are going to be jumping right onto the internet and trying to find this guy. Don't take him away from me, number one. Number two, I am pretty well versed at production, so I just needed the dry reads. So in the biz, as we say, he was just cutting liners for me. And then he sent me the raw voice, and then I put the music and effects and all the other stuff in it for a fully produced rejoin. And I said, what is it? Would you believe me if I told you that the first 5 cost me $400? Cheap, but guess what? Not that much. Not that much. Would you believe $250? No. No. How about this? Hold on to your seats. 5 dry liners, $75. Winner! And the first 2 times I had him do it, I had to send him a physical check, paper check. Since then, he's upgraded into taking PayPal. But it was paper check the first 2 times, $75. So believe me, he's not looking to make money off of the douche in Cleveland with the podcast / live show or the other way around. I think he's doing me more of a favor. It's like fun. Look at this little guy trying to make something. But this is a national level talent. He's the voice of all Clear Channel radio. He's the voice of all of your, all of your classic rock stations. He's the Westwood One guy. I just heard him this past weekend. Now, let's get back to Timmy Jehoshaphat and Booger McFarland on Westwood One. I can't even do that. He just does that. It just rolls out of him. It's amazing. Anyway, long way to go to get to tell you that that's who the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less is going to be this coming Friday. That's episode 108. The Lee Monster rejoins us December 19th, 2017. Wow. All right. I'm debating. I went too long on what I wanted to go. I'll allow ads. I went too far. Oh. Jeez, Pete. These damn websites. And all okay, I just stopped it already. What I am surprised. Am I dropping frames? What I am surprised as we get into 2020 is where are my chicken sandwich people at? Popeye started a chicken war in 2019, and here's why the food fight figures to continue in 2020, according to USA Today. It's largely thanks to Popeyes, which released its highly anticipated chicken sandwich in August, and then again later in the year. Sandwich return took a deadly point of contention when a fight broke out at a Maryland Popeyes, resulting in the stabbing death of a customer. That's right. This is the start of the chicken sandwich war in 2020. It was a war whose weapons were sassy tweets. The spat began innocuously when a Chick-fil-A tweeted a bun plus chicken plus pickles. But everybody else seems to be wanting to get in on the chicken sandwich. So don't be surprised. Favorite fast food joints like McDonald's is testing a pair of new chicken sandwiches on its own in Tennessee. And, for me, if you're testing a chicken sandwich in Tennessee, it's got to be Chattanooga as far as I'm concerned, because I want to make sure that my man Craig Barr has ample opportunity to run his custom luxury sleds into 10-foot deep potholes, cracking his custom whips rims. That's what I want to see. Because when he pulls into a parking lot at 11:30 a.m. to get a chicken sandwich, they better have a goddamn chicken sandwich. That's what he's talking about. Let me talk to you quickly about the Barbecue Guru. Always believing that outdoor cooking should be fun, because it can be. That's right, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. Monolith is the world's first temperature-controlled smoker with a built-in power draft fan. This means smarter control, greater freedom with automatic mid-temperature control. Easily choose your cooking time and temp. Let the Monolith do the work of a sous chef or a barbecue pitmaster with minimal effort. You now have oven-like precision at the grill. You can serve the tastiest, juiciest meals each and every time. Remember, if you have a Guru controller already and you buy a Monolith that has the fan built in it, just hook the controller to it. You don't need to buy a different controller in order to get this thing up and running. You're ready to go, pretty much. If you have any questions, you call them. 800-288-GURU. If you have any questions, you can visit the website, bbqguru.com, or peruse the inventory. Just make sure if you have any questions, make that phone call so they can have you up and running when the package gets to your doorstep. So good. Longest running sponsor of the show, and we love them. Barbecue Guru, bbqguru.com, 800-288-GURU. Daniel Vaughn out of the break. Stick around. Be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue. A man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible. Bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. This is where I will tell you to go to smokingwithsmithfield.com to sign up for the Committed Cooks program. But guess what? You waited too long and that shit's sold out. Most popular Committed Cooks program in the history of the Committed Cooks program. All spots are gone. If anything gets released, I will let you know here, but you can visit smokingwithsmithfield.com just in case something new is dropped before a new show is released for me every Tuesday between 9 and 11. Joining me now, one of my favorite people to talk live fire with, or just talk with in general, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going?
Happy New Year to you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Is it past time we could say Happy New Year?
Well, I mean, here's what I think. You tell me if I'm wrong, because you're the master at most. If I haven't talked to you voice to voice or person to person, and the new year has flipped since the last time we talked, is there a time frame on when I am allowed to not say, or when I shouldn't say Happy New Year? Because technically, I haven't wished you Happy New Year yet. A new year has transpired, and we just haven't seen each other yet. Unless you want me to start calling you like you're my first phone call out of the box when the ball drops.
I mean, I can't believe I didn't get a call at midnight. That was really the only acceptable option there.
Well, I figured, we were working on getting
New
you
Year
in.
to you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you saying that. And let's talk about the new year. But first, before we talk about that, let's look back at 2019. I asked Steven Raichlen what he thought, regardless of live fire, but just in general, what he thought the biggest food story of 2019 was. And he gave me two. He thought that not introduction, but the gain of fanfare of companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger really showcased how these type of plant-based proteins were going to be taking a stronghold, not only at the 2019 level, but marching into 2020. But then he also had mentioned another story that I'm forgetting as I'm kind of babbling off at the mouth here. So what do you think the food story or stories of 2019 were in your view?
Well, I mean, I'd have to agree with him there. But, I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but I kind of think that's more of my sort of prediction for what's going to happen more this year, is that we're going to see more of that stuff. You know, the big story, I think, was the fact that all these things enter the market. They got in all certain levels of the market as well. I mean, high-end restaurants all the way down to Burger King. And but what we didn't see much of was that stuff getting into barbecue. And I mean, I do a barbecue news roundup every couple of weeks, and I've already got 2 stories in there about 2 different vegan barbecue restaurants. One's a food truck that is using smoked Beyond Meat to stuff their baked potatoes with, and another vegan food truck that actually left Austin to go out to California and set up there. I know that Steven Raichlen, I was looking at his predictions for the new year, and he just thought that we're going to see a lot more vegetables as well. And that's another place I'd have to agree with him too, is that I think there's a group of vegetarians who really like the idea of eating something that mimics meat. And I think there's a group of vegetarians that really enjoy more the, vegetables out of the ground or off the tree, rather than trying to, ingest something that came out of a factory that has who knows what's in it, that just happens to have the same texture, similar flavor to meat.
Do you think that these plant-based proteins are going to enter into the barbecue scene in a form that we're familiar with? If you're talking about smoked meat in a taco or in a stuffing a potato, I mean, that's going to look like probably ground meat to a certain degree. But do you see something that's going to look like a rib or a brisket or something along these lines?
Well, I think actually what these vegetable plant protein companies have shown us when it comes to outside the barbecue realm, with a real focus on making, a good mimic of a chicken nugget, a good mimic of a cheeseburger. Like these are the things I think that once you start going beyond those, I think that's when the real pushback happens, right? It's like when you call something a rib, and then it looks nothing like a rib, tastes nothing like a rib. That's a huge disconnect, and that's also just a huge disappointment, right?
Well, McDonald's gets away with it every year, Daniel. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at Taco Bell, right? I mean, Taco Bell meat, like, who's going to notice if a third of it was plant protein instead of beef, right? Like, who's going to be able to tell the difference? One of my favorite restaurants that I ate at last year was Eam up in Portland, spelled EEM, and they have lots of different meat options. They've got ribs, they've got brisket, all kinds of stuff, right? But they also have a fried rice done with brisket right next to a fried rice done with smoked soy curls, a plant protein that's often used to mimic pulled pork. And I tried it. I didn't like it as well as the one with brisket, but it certainly wasn't like off-putting. But if they'd called it brisket fried rice, I would have been really disappointed.
So they're calling it what it is, and then that gains validity with it.
Right. I mean, when I first took this job, that was almost 7 years ago now. One of the first places I tried was a brand new food truck in Austin called Barbecue Revolution, and it was all vegetable proteins, and they used different vegetable proteins to try and mimic specific actual proteins. So they were using garbanzo bean for ribs, and on and on, right? And so they were calling them all by their name, like by what they were trying to mimic. So it was a seitan brisket, and like there's just nothing more disappointing than getting a slice of that and thinking, okay, so you're trying to mimic brisket here. Like it has no similarities in texture, no similarities in flavor beyond the fact that it's got smoke and a barbecue rub on it. And again, that was really off-putting. But go to a place that says we're going to give you a pulled jackfruit sandwich, like smoked jackfruit. Like I know what that is. Yeah. Like I know you're not trying to hide something from me. I'm certainly willing to try it and judge it on its own merits, but you're not calling it a vegan or vegetable-based pulled pork sandwich.
In the business world, we talk about setting the proper expectation, and that's what you're doing. Yeah. You're not calling it something that it isn't. You're setting the right expectation. It's smoked jackfruit, so you have Well, I don't know if anybody has an expectation of what that's going to be, but you're certainly not expecting something else.
Well, I mean, it's really not that much different than going to a place like Bodacious Barbecue, where you can get a chopped beef sandwich, chopped brisket sandwich, or you can get a Sloppy Joe sandwich. The chopped brisket, that is a good chunk of brisket thrown on the block, chop it up, put it on a bun. The Sloppy Joe, that's all the ends of the trimmings of briskets as they come through the line. They get put off into a pot and sort of get boiled down, simmered down in barbecue sauce. Those are two very different things, texture-wise and flavor-wise. But often you will find both of them, depending on which barbecue joint you go to, called a chopped beef sandwich. But at Bodacious, they're like, okay, well, we want to make Sloppy Joe. We want to be able to have this really profitable thing to use, basically use up a lot of the waste that comes off of what would otherwise be waste that comes off of our block. But we don't want to set up an expectation for our customer that is a chopped brisket sandwich, because it's not. And so, you know, it's a simple difference. They still both have brisket in them, but you know, if you're paying $3 for the Sloppy Joe and $5 for the chopped brisket sandwich, that there's a reason there. There's a difference. Most of it's filler in the form of barbecue sauce, but so just setting up that expectation that you're ordering something that's less expensive, so don't expect it to be like that great chopped beef sandwich right off the block.
Daniel Vaughn joining me here on the show. He is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. TMBBQ.com is website, at BBQ Snob on the Twitter if you want to get a hold of him. You had mentioned Portland. Do you see, and I'm going to paint with a broad, let's call it a West Coast barbecue movement. Do you see anything like that growing in 2020? Is a West Coast barbecue movement something that has been on the rise here over the last 2 or 3 years? How do you see it?
No, I don't really see it something traveling up and down the West Coast. You know, if so, then I think in Los Angeles we would have seen a lot more, you know, great places pop up and more of a culture built there. I mean, they've had a lot of years of having Texas-style barbecue joints there. Just none of them have been really, really great. Certainly, they've got a few more now that are better than what they had 5 years ago. I haven't been to a place like Moo's Craft Barbecue, but their food certainly looks incredible. But you know, that's one place, and there's a couple others. But you go to a place like Portland, and the reason that I called it the best city for Texas barbecue outside of Texas wasn't because it had like one or two really great places for barbecue. It was the fact that they had something that represented sort of every segment of the market. They've got the Bullard, you know, it's a hotel restaurant, sit-down restaurant with a $65 giant beef rib for two that's served with house-made tortillas and a couple of sides. And they've got a barbecue taco truck and Matt's Barbecue Tacos, sort of your Valentina's light, I would say. A really great, just straight up barbecue on a tray, barbecue by the pound on a tray, and Matt's Barbecue. And then the fact that they've actually got a few more that have popped up in a similar model with Bark City Barbecue and Holy Trinity. You know, just the fact that all of these places exist within the same relatively small city is, I think, pretty remarkable. And that's why I think it just has – and then it's got that little extra something of having Eam in there, which is a place where you're taking Texas-style barbecue and mixing it with a bunch of Thai curries. Which is really unique.
Daniel, I have a talking point that one of my embedded correspondents mentioned that we should get your opinion on. And certainly we all know there is a raging love for beef brisket, which we've been experiencing for any amount of years now, especially on the Texas side. But what do we know, if anything, about this pork brisket? Is there such a thing?
Well, I mean, there's like such a thing as squirrel brisket. I mean, every animal's got brisket. Every animal's got that muscle. It's just, is there, yeah, I'm sorry, Greg. You got one of those too. You've got one of those muscles.
I only have 2 feet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly not as well developed as a cow's, but it's there. And so with the pork brisket, with of course, there is a brisket muscle on a pig. Same thing for lamb, but sort of in a similar vein, when you see something called a pork brisket, or you see something called a lamb breast, or even a lamb brisket, it's really that brisket muscle attached to a larger portion of the belly as well. And so a pork brisket, you're going to have a section that's basically from the picnic, from that lower portion of the leg, and also going back into the belly. And so you're going to get that juice belly meat, but the meat up front is going to be a little bit drier. Same with a lamb brisket or a lamb breast. It's going to have that, that front chest muscle, but it's also going to have a few of those first few ribs still attached, and some of that belly meat right along with it.
Have you had any number of those, or just tried them out here and there?
I smoked a couple of them, yeah, and it was kind of like, well, sure would be better just to do a pork shoulder or do a pork belly.
Is that one of those things too, where if you used the term brisket, your mind is just mentally going to go to beef, and you could potentially be set up for disappointment?
Well, I think it's the opposite reason that they use it. They use it because brisket is cool, and so if you can say pork brisket, it's like, oh, well, that's like a whole new cut of pork. That must be really cool and interesting. I need to try that. And so I think it's more of a marketing thing to use the term brisket. There's been plenty of burger joints out there that have been grinding up briskets into burgers, but it's only recently where you've seen them really touting it. Like, oh, this is a chuck and brisket burger. This is 100% ground brisket burger. It's like before you just said it was ground beef, or you didn't even bother to say it's cheeseburger or hamburger. But now that, you've been using brisket all this time, well, now you realize that there's some panache that comes with the fact that you've chosen brisket as the whole cut, the whole muscle that you're going to grind up for your burgers.
Daniel Vaughn joining me here on the show, tmbbq.com, his website. As you had mentioned, you do a roundup every couple of weeks. Recently, you had something called the $75 baked potato at a place called Burns Original Barbecue in Houston. So is this like a gimmick? It pulls people in, like the old 96er on The Great Outdoors or whatever the John Candy and Dan Aykroyd movie was, where if you eat it, you get, a free steak dinner and a can of balloons or something like that?
Yeah, I think there's something. Yeah, I think there's some similarities there. Yeah, they, their stuffed baked potatoes are enormous as is, and I think if you get one of their stuffed baked potatoes, comes in a styrofoam box, a styrofoam to-go container, your standard sort of square container, and it fills it. Fills it. Like, it's one of those where you don't want to pick it up one-handed by the corner because it's going to collapse. So their single stuffed potato, it's got, their butter and sour cream and cheese and barbecue sauce and green onions and bacon and lots and lots of barbecue and barbecue sauce as well. That in itself is impressive enough. And, it's sort of a gimmick. I think they decided what if we put 3 of those together on one big giant tray? Now, if they had found a way to get a potato that was large enough to mimic, or large enough to take the place of 3 normal sized potatoes, then maybe that would be a story, I guess. But yeah, the fact that they're really just taking 3 potatoes and adding 3 times as much toppings on top of each one to give you that. But they say it feeds 15, and if I remember right, the story, they brought 5 people out to try it, and they didn't even get close to putting a dent in the thing. So
yeah, the pictures had plenty left over. Would you say this is akin to those dopey Bloody Mary things that happen where, at some point we lost track of the drink and we're just stacking shit on top of a glass and hoping it doesn't topple over?
It's not just that we lost track of the drink and something like that. It's that everything else is being served in a substandard way, right? You got a cheeseburger, like a mini burger, whatever, a slider stuck with a
stone crab claw
stuck in that drink. Yeah, it's like, well, by the time you put all that together, that stone crab claw is stone cold, as is the slider that's on that big toothpick or whatever skewer you've got going on there. Yeah, it's just like did you eat this stuff? Have you ever put one of these together and then ate everything on it to see what it actually tastes like after it's been hovering over a cold glass of filled with Bloody Mary? Yeah, terrible idea.
Worst idea. All right, before I let you go, a couple minutes left. Anything new that you've heard of in regards to the BBQ Hall of Fame?
I haven't really heard anything new about the BBQ Hall of Fame. I mean, certainly that story came out about the KCBS. I know you've talked about it in the past, maybe in the last episode. But yeah, I mean, I know that any thoughts about having a physical Hall of Fame have probably been sidelined for a good long while since.
I thought with the new, they have a new land to start building a whole new situation, right? I thought that would be part and parcel.
Oh, okay. Well, you're further ahead than I am. I'm sorry. I apologize.
What are you talking about? You're on the freaking committee.
I'm not on a committee about buildings.
You're on the Hall of Fame committee.
I'm on the selection committee. When we start talking about names, that's when I get involved.
So you didn't see the story where the American Royal had acquired a whole bunch of land?
No, I saw the story where the American Royal was selling off of their offices that they had just finished.
Oh. Wait, are we getting lost? Are we talking about the American Royal and KCBS? Are we getting those confused? Or is everybody selling everything?
Yeah, I think we might be getting these confused.
Right, I think you're talking about the KCBS.
You've given me something new for my barbecue news roundup.
Yes.
I need to go research this.
Breaking news from the Barbecue Central show. Make sure you credit me right.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, honestly, like I said, as far as the Barbecue Hall of Fame goes, I mean, I get involved when we start talking about names, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Do you think this is my year, Daniel? Just talk about it, just pull yourself out of it and give me the double barrel answer. You think this is my year?
Wow. I mean, I haven't seen that check yet. So.
Well, you might see it sooner than later. I can tell you that. I mean, this isn't on, right? We're not recording. Right? Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're doing right now is great, and maybe go think about opening a restaurant and write a cookbook too, and then you're a shoo-in.
All right. Well, those are. I mean, at least one of those things is definitely not going to happen, and it might be more the book than the restaurant. Although they tend to be both pretty risky. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, if you want to catch up with Daniel, you find him at tmbbq.com, on the Twitter at bbqsnob. Daniel, always appreciate the time and conversation. We'll do it again soon.
Great talking with you.
All right, there he is, Daniel Vaughn, the Texas Monthly barbecue editor. And I'm not a very good read of people, but I just want to say that if I'm doing my due diligence, he wasn't giving me, what do you call those? The warm and fuzzies. You think this is my year? 7-second pause. Are you going to pay me? I think he just asked me to pay him. And I broke a story to Daniel about the American Royal having new ground to build their new headquarters, which is really months old at this point. Literally months old. Anyway. Daniel, hit up Emily Park. She's got you. All right, we are going to chase down Emily Detweiler from the Kansas City Barbecue Society next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, this portion of the show being brought to you by the Pit Barrel Cooker. If you are looking to get into some hang time coming up, go to pitbarrelcooker.com, order yours up. You got the original Pit Barrel, you got the Pit Barrel Junior, you got a host of accessories to make everything awesome. stationary circulation, stationary rotisserie. It's the best way to go. And trust, people love the pit barrel cooker. It's one of those set it and forget it, because you're not running on temperature. You just set your air intake on the bottom due to altitude, and that's it. You're off and running. Don't worry about where the temperature's running at. I mean, this thing is built to just perform. So get over yourself and enjoy what the Pit Barrel is putting out. pitbarrel.com for more information. All right. Helping me close the show out tonight is the CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society, Emily Detweiler. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Greg. How you doing tonight?
I don't know if you knew it or not, Emily, but we're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
Heck yeah!
Wow, well, I mean...
Kingdom.
Wow, look at you. Big fan, I see. Nice. So as a guy who continues to live in monstrous obscurity as it comes to losing and catastrophic leadership from a football team's perspective of being the Cleveland Browns, it's nice to see somebody who from top to bottom is heading in the right direction and saying, hey, if you do it right and you get the right pieces in there and you play together properly, you can run right to the Super Bowl. I mean, it can happen.
It can happen. It can happen. There's a lot of parallels there between what you just said and what we're doing today, Greg.
No doubt about it. Well, we're trying to get everything heading in the right direction. So let me start here and quickly take a look back at the NPR affiliate article detailing on some things that were going on with the KCBS, and they were detailing out what appeared to be some pretty serious items, and I don't want to spend an inordinate amount of time here because there's a lot of other cool stuff to talk about. But you tell me how you see certain things, and from a high level, do you think, just like as we talk about journalism, and I talked to Meathead about it last week, do you think that unbiased reporting is at some point will resurrect itself, or do you think somehow we've crossed that threshold and it isn't going to matter anymore? Whatever you think you want your truth to be, you're going to talk to a group of people and you'll find who agrees with you, and that's just going to be it, and we're just going to have to live with it.
Well, you know, Greg, I think there's definitely there's a lot of sensationalism. I think, unfortunately, and perhaps as a society and media world, perhaps we've somewhat done it to ourselves. You know, everybody's looking for that next click. We see it in the way everybody manages their social media pages, et cetera. You know, you're trying to drive your clicks, drive your engagement, et cetera. I do believe, though, that there is an opportunity and certainly a responsibility to make sure that all sides are told of the story, and, you know, doing so in a timeline of the story, I think is important. And if you can't get unbiased information from all sides, maybe there's a reason, but also, you know, maybe you should think twice about whether it's published or not. So, you know, I think at the end of the day, Greg, we're trying to do so many good things, and so are so many other organizations and news outlets, et cetera. So, you know, I think it's a blip, but we'll get through it. And honestly, great things have happened since.
Let me ask you a few quick questions here, and then we'll move on to the KCBS banquet recap and all that other good stuff. When you read the article, depending on how you're reading it, and this is the one I want to start with, specifically Carolyn Wells, it made it sound like, depending how you're reading it, she's either fed up with what was going on at KCBS or perhaps worse, being pushed out of her executive role or his executive director's role. Where is the truth in that?
That's a very fair question, Greg. So, you know, the truth in that is obviously the entire organization continues to be really proud of the work that Carolyn and Gary laid in terms of building the foundation for the organization. You know, when I came on board, it was made very clear to me right away that, you know, a strategy had been put in place in 2018 by the board at the time, that she would be moving into more of, you know, a historical and ambassador role beginning in 2020. And so, you know, toward the end of 2019, the existing board essentially ratified that amendment to put that into play. And so that has been a long-term strategy, and that also, from a transition standpoint, is also what paves the way to create in executive role for more of the day-to-day leadership of the business. So all of that has been planned for quite some time. I heard there were rumors circulating at the Jack, that I had come in to remove Carolyn from her position. And that made me laugh because it couldn't have been further from the truth. And again, this was all put in place. And, we're so grateful to still have her be part of the overall, day-to-day from a team perspective. And honestly, it's taken away a lot of the burden of the day-to-day operations from her so that she can focus on more of the fun things. And, I think from what I have witnessed, she's been very happy about that. So, I think it was a little sensationalized in terms of how it was written. It's definitely been in place for quite some time. And, this was just literally outlining the strategy that was already in place.
Emily, it's easy to quickly blame or finger point at the folks who are currently sitting on the board today. But when you stop and take a look at this from a realistic standpoint, you have to understand that there were decisions being made in 2017 and 2018 that kind of help proliferate the position that we're at present day. So as you look back on, you've been in this position a little while now, and you're able to start to look back on previous administrations. Are there things that you can specifically point to that were helping KCBS into this bad position that we're in now that you're starting to correct?
Yes. I think it's interesting because when you read this article, it obviously would make you think that everything started to begin from an issues perspective in February of 2019, and that is just simply not true. The building was called into question. Well, the building was purchased in 2015. It was quickly listed for leasing. The leasing agent was hired in 2017, and then it became an opportunity to sell. So, all of those things have been in place for quite some time. So, just in terms of how things were approached from a timeline perspective and from a rationale perspective, again, these things were already in place. I'm not sure exactly what the vision was in 2015 when this building was purchased. I'm sure there was a lot of great thought that went into why a building might be necessary, and opportunities, to lease it out and to have event space or things like that. Well, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And so, the building has been for sale essentially since 2017. So, again, things were made to sound like this was all happening right away. Well, or kind of last minute, but that couldn't be further from the case. The building was under contract almost a year ago, and that contract fell through. So, it's just there have been quite a few decisions made along the way that led to the situations that exist now. And part of why I was brought in very much was from kind of a turnaround perspective and to help bring some additional financial responsibilities and marketing responsibilities to the organization. And I take that very seriously, and I know that the board does as well. So has the last year and a half or so been tough? Yes, it has been. And unfortunately, those have been some of the results of decisions that were made long before. But rather than finger point, I think the best thing we can do is come together as an organization to really develop the right way forward to make sure that KCBS can continue to be a very strong organization and very healthy financially as we move into the future. And that is absolutely what my focus is, and certainly what the board's focus is as well.
So you mentioned marketing, and given those skills, which you had obviously demonstrated at a very high level at Smithfield and coming into KCBS, bringing that responsibility in-house, that being the marketing, seems like a great idea. Is it also correct to assume that the contract that KCBS had with First Club Marketing was more detrimental than beneficial as it relates to how that company was getting compensated for their work, or not necessarily?
That's definitely kind of a tricky question, Greg. As you know, First Club Marketing has filed suit, so I just really need to be careful in terms of what we talk about there.
Okay.
What I will say in terms of, bringing the position in-house, I think it just has such a tremendous opportunity to be a part of the day-to-day, team And, there's so many moving parts and pieces that happen so fast. I know everybody says, oh, this is barbecue, don't work on a Sunday night or whatever the case may be, but things move really quickly. And there's a lot of kind of synergy that comes from the team being together in the office and talking about the impact of, whether it's putting together different contest series for a potential partner, or how we're going to communicate that and share things out across all of our different channels and things like that. So, when you think about the value of having that position be in-house, there's a tremendous value to that comes from the deep knowledge that the staff has of what we can do and how we can best engage our members for our partners' benefit, but also there's just a tremendous opportunity, I guess, in terms of that being part of the team, living it day to day, and also, from a cost perspective, not having commissions involved. So, I think overall, in general, it's just such a positive opportunity for us to come together and have that be a critical member of the team.
Emily Detweiler joining us here on the show, CEO of the KCBS, the website kcbs.us, if you want to check it out here while we're chatting. One of the things you see or were reading was, where is the membership at, and people are jumping ship, blah, blah, blah. So let's ask the right question here. What is the fitness level of KCBS membership right now as we're looking into the beginnings of 2020?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So, some of the things that were pointed out were that membership was declining and that, numbers were around the 17,000 mark. Well, that's actually not true. So membership numbers are up since October. We've had over 1,000 new and or renewed members from that time period that were up. So, those numbers are very encouraging. We're actually over 18,300 members as of a current report we pulled last week. So active members. So, I think when you start looking at that, you're starting to see the trends coming in. I've actually seen it. I get a daily report in terms of what transactions occurred the day prior. And what I can see is that, numbers are definitely trending up. We had a lot of strong response, people wanting to participate in the election, the recent election for the new board of directors. So, I think that's very encouraging because what it tells me is that the membership is engaged and they want to, new people are interested, obviously, but also the existing membership is engaged and wants to be part of the development of the future. So, I think about those things as extremely positive for the organization.
Emily, let's talk about the thing that happened this past weekend, which is the KCBS end-of-year banquet. Takes place in Kansas City. Just from a 30,000-foot perspective, because I think you have a unique perspective here. I think the last couple times you've been there, it's been as a Smithfield representative and or partner, and this time around it's within the KCBS walls. So how did you think the event went this time?
That's a great question. I would say I experienced it from a totally different angle, which was awesome. It was so encouraging to see so many people come out to the banquet from literally from all over the country. We had some of our great friends and reps from Canada come to visit. We actually had a cook team from Canada come to visit. So, I think that was great. The session attendance was a lot stronger than I thought when I was there as a partner a few years ago. So I think, that was really great. We had really interesting sessions on marketing and brand building put on by Richard Fergola and Megan Day. So engaging. That room was practically full. We had some really great sessions about CBJs, organizer committees, things like that. So it was really, really positive, and, we had a ton of fun at the banquet itself. And, there were a few people who had to cancel based on weather. Literally, the Kansas City airport was shut down for a good portion of the day on Friday. But so we had people getting, maybe getting as far as St. Louis or Tulsa and then having to drive from there. But, man, they made it, and we had a heck of a good time.
Emily, from I guess I wonder, because all I think about at the banquet, and you can tell me if this is an incorrect assumption on my part, but I mean, are the majority of people showing up people that are competitors, or is that incorrect? Are the majority of them just KCBS members, and then a smaller bank makes up the competing contingent?
That's an interesting question. It's kind of a mix, honestly. I would say it leans a little bit more toward judges and KCBS members, but we had a really nice contingent of teams there this year as well. So it was fun to be able to recognize all of our Team of the Year finalists, and certainly fun to see Boomerang sweep all of the categories and overall. They're just such great competitors and so friendly. And, I think Matt and Sarah wearing their Good Queen and Good King jackets was fun. And, we also saw a few new traditions start this year with the belt buckles from Reagan of La Pasadena and Brad Leninger and Matt Walker. So that was really fun. We've been trying to recognize these toy finalists on all of our social channels, but we also had a great opportunity to recognize some different types of people within the organization. So this year we started a CBJ, Certified Barbecue Judge, nomination as well. And we were able to recognize a few of those folks. So, we shared that at the banquet, but we recognized 6 different certified barbecue judges from across the country, one internationally, and unfortunately one had passed away just at the beginning of January. So, we'll be sharing his award with his friends and family. But we have, we always recognize our Wells Award winners. So the Carolyn Wells Award is all about ambassadorship and really spreading that positive message of KCBS. So this year we awarded that to Marge Plummer, PhD. For anybody that has ever met Marge, you recognize her immediately by her stature and by her cute little tiny hat. She's just the funniest lady, but she has attended or been a part of over 400 barbecue contests in her life. So I just think that's amazing. And then we also recognize for the Gary Wells Award, that's all about sportsmanship, and we recognize Rick Landini from California in that regard. And his nominations really talked a lot about how he's been very giving of his time as a cook and a judge. He really helps let those judges going for their masters come out and cook with him, which was a requirement for their process there. But just a really great sportsmanship mentality. So anyway, those were some of the fun awards that we gave out. And then we did have a chance to also recognize Carolyn for all of her contributions. Again, as we said before, she's not going away. She's just moving into a different role, but it was really nice to be able to honor her. And we presented her with a fantastic, she loves Waterford Crystal. So we got her a nice Waterford Crystal clock that had the original KCBS logo on it, as well as the current logo. So it was really cool, and I think she was really touched by that.
Overall vibe as you're kind of milling around, I mean, do you think that the contingent is galvanized and they feel positive going forward here through the year and, into the next 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, we've gotten a tremendous amount of feedback. My phone's been blowing up. Carolyn's has been blowing up. Just people saying you guys are absolutely on the right track. Don't let some of the distractions of the last few weeks get you down. We've got to stay focused on continuing to build a bright future for the organization. And that's really helpful, when you hear that kind of message consistently, and we see it as well in the membership numbers that we're seeing in terms of renewals and new members coming on, as I mentioned before. So, I think that's good. We're also starting to see more engagement as well with folks sharing the fun, and sharing their success on social media. So, we would certainly encourage our members to continue to show off their love of KCBS and the family and friends that really makes up, competition barbecue and barbecue in general, not just competition, but, and we are starting to see people really using that IMKCBS hashtag or that KC Barbecue Society hashtag quite a bit more. So that's good. I mean, those are all things that really speak to the fact that people are excited and they want to be a part of this time period. And, I think Matt Walker of Boomerang Barbecue said it best. He's a man of few words, but man, when he got up to give his little acceptance speech for Team of the Year, he said, let's just get the politics out of this and let's go out and have a good time. And, I applaud him for saying that. I think hearing it from him means a lot more perhaps to some than hearing it from me, sure. Which is fine. But, I think there's a lot of great things that we have done and will continue to do. And certainly as we all work together to try to grow the future of our organization, I think we all know that we have to continue doing the great things we're doing, but we also have to reach out and bring more people into the sport. And that means attracting a younger audience and just doing things differently and showcasing the fun. And it's hard to do that when, if you're focused only on what happened in the past or the negatives or things like that. So, we're ready to shake it off. In the words of my favorite Taylor Swift, I may or may not have given everybody a little show, setting the stage on Friday night. We shook it off and had a good time.
CEO of KCBS is Emily Detweiler, breaking down the 2019 KCBS banquet. Emily, really appreciate the time this evening, the openness and the candor, and we will look forward to talking to you again shortly.
Sounds great. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. There she is, Emily Detweiler, your KCBS CEO, and answering questions right here on the show, which I certainly appreciate. If you want to take a look at membership, kcbs.us is the website. Also, a whole bunch of other information, meeting notes, results of contests, all the good stuff, if you're in the following contest. I'm debating in 2020, am I going to start to try and reintroduce competition barbecue to the show? I'm having that conversation with myself and the circle of trust, as it were. Let me talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers before we turn this show off this evening. It's a one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. Get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. 13 perfectly balanced rubs and flavors and seasonings, so you can turn ordinary meals to extraordinary. If you want to step it up a notch further, jump over and check out their supply of Simply Marvelous barbecue rubs as well. Put Big Papa and Simply Marvelous together, you got the West Coast offense. That just wins. I mean, if you're interested in winning, do the West Coast offense. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce. So if you're tired of what's out there on the market right now, looking for something new, Granny's barbecue sauce is something you're going to want to try. And of course, they do have the cookers. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Grill. Big Papa Smokers is the exclusive Mac dealer, and they even offer special packages if you're not a fan of pellet smokers. Take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you have any questions about what you should get, call them 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop the website, bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back to wrap this whole baby up. Stick around, I'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. Thanks again to Emily Detweiler from the Kansas City Barbecue Society, kcbs.us, if you want to check them out. All right, let's go ahead and beat it out of here. All the way back in the first hour, Steven Raichlen joins us for the first time in 2020, and we talk
Yo, pod! This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.